Saturnalia, the great chaos. To a civilian, it's the best week of the year. December. Work stops, the courts close, and the whole city shouts, Io Saturnalia. To a centurion, it's a discipline nightmare. It's the festival where the world turns upside down. The rigid social order we maintain with the sword is suspended. For a week, masters serve dinner to their slaves. Slaves wear the pelias, the cap of liberty, and are allowed to mock their owners without getting whipped. Gambling, strictly forbidden the rest of the year, is played openly in the streets. Dice roll on every corner. It's a political pressure valve. The Senate allows this temporary madness so the mob and the slaves don't explode for real. But for us, on guard duty, it's the most dangerous week. We keep our helmets on and stay sober. When you let the hierarchy crumble, even as a joke, blood usually follows the wine very quickly. Lupercalia, the savage ritual. We like to claim we are the civilized masters of the world, with our white togas and written laws. And then February comes, and we remind everyone that, deep down, we are still a bunch of superstitious shepherds. This is the oldest, most primitive holiday. It starts in the cave where the wolf is said to have nursed Romulus and Remus. Priests sacrifice goats and a dog. They smear the foreheads of two young nobles with the blood, wipe it off with wool soaked in milk, and then the madness begins. These young men, the Luperci, run half-naked through the streets of Rome, holding strips of freshly skinned goat hide, called februa. They strike anyone in their path. And the strangest part? The women want to be hit. They line the streets, holding out their hands. The belief is that the lash guarantees fertility and an easy childbirth. To a soldier watching from the wall, it's ridiculous. The most powerful men in Rome running naked like animals. But the festival's name comes from lupus, wolf. It is a day to purify the city, and remember that before we were emperors, we were predators. Liberalia, the coming of age. It happens in March. For Roman mothers, it's a day of tears. For fathers, it's a day of pride and drinking. For us in the army, it's the day fresh meat hits the market. It is the rite of passage. Roman boys, usually at 15 or 16, walk to the forum and strip off their childhood. They take off the toga praetexta, the one with the purple border that signals, "Don't touch me, I am sacred." And more importantly, they take off the bulla, the gold or leather amulet they've worn around their necks since birth to ward off the evil eye. They put on the toga virilis, the plain white toga, a man's toga. Civilians see this as the moment the boy gains the right to vote and marry. The centurion sees the truth. It's the moment he loses his magical protection and gains the right to die for Rome. Without the bulla, he is no longer the responsibility of the household gods. He is the responsibility of the state. The party is nice, with honey cakes and wine in the streets, but the meaning is brutal. Welcome to the real world, kid. Here is your gladius, Parilia, the birthday of Rome, April 21st. You would expect the birthday of the capital of the world to be celebrated with parades of gold and marching legions. Instead, we celebrate how we started, as farmers. This festival doesn't honor Jupiter or Mars. It honors Pales, the deity of shepherds and livestock. It's a reality check. The emperor may live in a marble palace, but on this day, even the nobles remember that Rome was born in huts of straw and mud. The ritual is rustic. We light bonfires made of straw and hay. And then, the people jump over the flames 3 times. They say it's for purification, to burn away the physical and spiritual filth accumulated over the year. It is the day we remember that Romulus didn't found Rome with a sword, but with a plow, tracing the pomerium, the sacred boundary. For a soldier stationed on the frontier, the Parilia is a bittersweet reminder. We fight to protect an empire of marble, but we celebrate the memory of a sheep pasture. It's the only time the city smells like a farm, and not a sewer. Vestalia, the sacred fire. June. This is the most important festival for the soul of Rome. Other gods have giant statues. Vesta has something better. She has fire. The flame in the temple of Vesta can never go out. If it dies, divine protection over Rome dies with it. It is that simple. The guardians are the Vestal virgins, untouchable women. A centurion can order a man's death, but he must lower his eyes if a Vestal walks by. they have the power to pardon criminals with a touch. During Vestalia, the inner sanctum of the temple, the penis Vestae, is opened. But here is the rule. Men stay out. Only women, barefoot and humble, can enter to make offerings. It is a reminder that in a world dominated by swords and male senators, the spiritual survival of the city rests in the hands of women. Strangely, it is also the holiday of bakers and millers. The donkeys that turn the grain mills are decked out in garlands of flowers and bread loaves. It makes sense, fire and grain. Without them, there is no bread. Without bread, there are no legions. Vesta keeps the fire burning, and we keep the barbarians away from it. Ludi Romani, the Roman Games. September. This is where political theory meets brutal practice. The poet Juvenal called this bread and circuses. He was right. The city stops, not to pray, but to scream. Dedicated to Jupiter, these games are the ultimate pressure valve of the empire. Chariot races in the Circus Maximus. Theater. Hunting spectacles. The Senate spends fortunes here. Why? Generosity? No. Fear. A bored mob is a dangerous mob. A citizen who is hoarse from screaming for his favorite horse of the blue or green faction isn't screaming for political reform or cheaper bread. For the soldier on patrol, it is hell on earth. Drunks, illegal gambling, fan riots in the streets. But, pragmatically, it is necessary. The Ludi Romani keep the domestic peace better than any armed garrison. Give the people blood in the sand and wine in the stands, and they will forget that their rulers are corrupt. Equirria, the preparation for war. February and March. The snow melts, the ground dries, and the campaigning season approaches. Do not confuse this with the Roman Games. The Equirria is not to amuse the mob. These are horse races, yes, but they happen on the Campus Martius, the army's training ground, and are dedicated to Mars himself. To a civilian, it looks like sport. To a cavalry officer, it is a technical inspection. We are testing the animals. Winter is hard on horses. They lose weight. They get weak. The Equirria is the stress test. Which beasts still have speed? Which have the stamina for a flank charge? The priests perform their sacrifices to purify the horses, but we are looking at the muscles and the hooves. A bad horse in a race means a lost bet. A bad horse on the frontier means a dead scout and a blind legion. The Equirria is where we decide who goes to the front and who becomes glue. Armilustrium, the purification of arms. October. The sky darkens, the wind turns cold, and the season of war comes to an end. To a civilian, it's just another holiday. To us, it is the most sacred and solemn day of all. We march to the Aventine Hill, in full armor, with torches and trumpets. But we are not going to battle. We are coming back from it. This is the day of purification. For 6 months, our gladi and spears have drunk blood. To the gods, that blood is a spiritual stain. You cannot bring death inside the sacred walls of Rome and expect the city to prosper. So, the priests of Mars, the Salii, dance and chant, and we ritually purify our steel. We wash away the dirt, the rust, and the guilt. We put the weapons away in the armories. The god Mars can sleep for the winter. It is a moment of rare silence. We look at the clean steel and know we survived another year. The weapons rest. We rest. Until the spring, when the madness starts all over again. Brennus, the chieftain of the Senones. He is the reason Rome stopped trusting in walls and started trusting in legions.